going on, people? It's Hajimoto, and we've got another tutorial, time saver, sneak peek, trick and tip video. Today I'm going to teach you how you can change your lens inside your Hero GoPro, either 5, 6, or 7. They're all going to be changed the same way. I went online, bought a replacement lens, which I have in this box. There will be a link in the description below if you're interested in buying the same lens. I bought a 3.4 millimeter lens so that I have a little bit more zoom than what's in here, and it's a flat lens. It is not a fisheye lens. So today what I'm going to do is show you how to remove this protector, then how to remove the lens, install your new lens, then flipping it over and focusing so you can use it as a macro lens. You can use it in scope cam videos and so forth. So what you're going to need is you're going to need a replacement lens, flat replacement lens. We've got that. I recommend a pair of these little cheap wire cutters. You can buy these from any hardware store. They're very small wire cutters and they're very sharp, very pointy, which is the reason why we're going to be using these, and you'll see why in a minute. So I'm going to use a roll of toilet tissue only as a constant elevation, and it's a very common item that most people have in their homes, and it'll help illustrate my point. Also, I have a playing card, just the Joker, so that way we have an image to show you exactly what's going on here. So let's get started. First thing we're going to do is remove this lens protector that's on the front of the GoPro, which is the waterproof lens. What you want to do is you want to get your thumb and forefinger on each side, top and bottom, and you're gripping it like this, very tough. And what you're going to do is holding the camera body, you're going to be pulling the camera in one direction, and you're going to be pulling the lens forward so that you increase the gap between these two. As you pull it out, you're going to turn counterclockwise, and you'll see how these corners are sitting square right now. But as I go to pull this out, there's a gap, which I see right there now. There's a gap, and as I'm starting to turn, see how it's no longer square? And all you're doing is disengaging that cog system from these springs that are in the side. That's pretty much it. So I'll just put it back on and demonstrate again, because it seems pretty easy, but it does take it's all technique. It's not brute strength. So I'm going to demonstrate it again. You're gripping just this little thin bezel, the front. You're gripping that using the meat of your index finger and the force of your thumb, holding the camera on the left side and right side, forward and back like this, so that you've got you can do this action. So you're using the meat of your finger to roll into the camera body. That actually pries that out. I'm going to try to do it closer to the lens so you can see what I'm talking about. You'll see the gap open up when I do this. See the space? My finger just slipped off, but see the space? Watch. Nothing. Now you got a space. That's it. That's all you're doing. So you roll your finger under and you turn. You can see it's already disengaged. Now you've got that off. Okay? The next portion of this is going to be removing that lens. This is the part where you have to have the right balance of finesse and strength. And the reason I recommend using these is because they're so sharp, you don't have to put a lot of force, because this sharp edge will grip for you. Now if you look at the edge of these cutters, you'll notice they're beveled. One has a beveled and the other edge is flat. The back is flat. So what we want to do is, when we're going to be trying to turn this lens, we're going to want the flat side to be against the corners of our lens, lightly gripping the left and the right side, and we're going to turn it counterclockwise. Okay, so I'm going to demonstrate. Now this lens I've had off before, so if you see any marks on it, you'll know why. The glass lens, that glass lens is protected by a plastic ring that's around it. We're not trying to crush it. All we're trying to do is grip and to turn the lens. So it's going to be difficult for you to see this turn because it's a piece of glass. So what I'm going to try to do is take a piece of bright post-it paper, and I'm going to stick it to the lens so that you can actually see this when it's turning. It'll be easier for you to follow what I'm doing. So I'm going to take a little piece of the Post-it paper here, the bright pink. And again, you don't have to do this. I'm just doing this so it illustrates to you guys so you can see what I'm doing. Okay, that's now stuck on the lens itself. Okay, it'll be easier for you to see what I'm doing here. Now remember, on the outside edge of this is a plastic bezel, and what we're doing is, there's no glue on these like the 3s and 4s and those guys, is I'm taking this and I'm simply putting it between that lock that held down the front plate that we just took off, and I'm putting it against that plastic bezel that's on the lens. I am not torquing on these. It's very, very light pressure, okay? Again, it's all technique, nothing to do with strength. So in taking this, we're using that really sharp edge, and the reason we want it sharp is because it doesn't take a lot of force for it to grip into the plastic. So now we're just taking it, putting it on our lens, and now watch. That's it. That's now turning. That's all it takes. This lens is now, as I'm backing this out, I'm changing the focal point of this lens. So if you wanted to keep the fisheye lens in it, but you wanted it to become more of a macro lens, I'll demonstrate and show you what you would do. So let's say this is our focus item, which is this joker. I'm going to put the joker there, and we're going to use the roll of toilet paper so we have a constant height. So this demonstrates better what's happening to the focus. It'll illustrate it so it's easier for you to follow. I'm going to set the camera on top of it, and all I'm going to do is focus down here. So I'm going to pull our little piece of pink paper off, and if you look, you can see that at the height of the toilet paper, that joker is almost in focus. I mean, it's not far off. It's kind of clear. Now, it's going to be hard for you to see it in there, but I'm going to take the lens now, and I'm going to come down close to the card and watch what happens as I get close. See how joker kind of blurs out? It would never do this factory. If I didn't turn that, I'm going to put it back to the factory position where it was, okay? Now, typically in a factory position, this is where it would be. See that starting to blur out? You can't even read the word joker now. But watch as I back this out. As I turn this out, as I turn it counterclockwise, I'll get it to the point where I can get very, very close. As you can see, I'm almost touching the card right now. The space in between here is very, very close. The wire cutters, see how close they are? Okay, so that's how we loosen the lens. Now what we're going to do is I'm just going to power the camera off. We're going to continue to take this lens out. Okay, but now I'm just going to turn the camera upside down when I take the lens out. So I'm simply just leaving it so the sensor is pointing down. Here's our lens pointing down with the camera sensor, and I'm just going to set that down, and that's the factory lens, the fisheye lens. You don't ever want to touch the back of that. Obviously you get oily and fingerprints on it. I'm going to open up our replacement lens, which again is for the Hero 5, 6, or 7. This is a 3.4 millimeter lens. And again, there will be a link in the description below. The protect, again, you don't want to touch the end of it. Little dust cap, and you can see this is our lens, 16 megapixel, 3.4. Now, same thing, keeping the camera sensor down. All I'm doing is placing the lens in, and now I'm just going to screw it in. It has been my experience that when you're screwing these lenses in, the minute they become flush with this bezel, you're in about the right focus spot. That'll be about where you'll need to be before you have to start checking it. So we're getting pretty close now. Right around in here is getting kind of close, like that. We'll get the camera fired back up. And now, when we look at the joker, you can see right now my shadows are kind of covering this. Try to get the light right for you. You'll notice how close I can get now. The shadow of the camera is so close, I can barely, I'm touching the card almost right now. I'm less than 1/4 of an inch away. So obviously, the further I turn this in, so let's use we're going to use the toilet paper roll as our height again, so that we have a constant. And we can see that that card is very out of focus, very blurry. Now, as I screw it in, you're going to see that start getting clearer. So I'm going to give it a turn, 1/4 turn in, get a little clearer, another 1/4 of a turn, getting clearer, and there we go, nice and crystal clear. So you'll use that procedure in the reverse when you're trying to get it to focus on our scope. So I'm going to bring I have a Hawk Sidewinder here that I'm going to use for demonstration purposes, and I have it aimed at a computer screen to my left, which is going to be used as a white background so that we can see it on the camera. And what I'm going to do is set the camera up for we'll set it up for 1080 at 200 frames, 240 frames. Okay, we're going to try to see if I can't change the width, which I can't in this mode. So we'll just drop it in now, and you'll see we're looking through the scope. I'm going to put the scope at something white, and you can now see that our image is in the center of the screen there. Okay, I'm going to take it to 720 just so you can see the difference in the size of the image. We'll go to 720 we'll go to 120 super view or linear, or we can do this action here to zoom in like that. Now right now you should see the crosshair is sitting there, but it's blurry. So if we had to focus that, we would take the camera out and adjust that until that's crystal clear. That's pretty much it. I'm sorry this was so long-winded, guys, and when you were all done making the changes to your camera, you would then put your protector back on. Okay, new lens is in. You would take your lens protector, put it back on, start in a canted position like that, pressing in, then turn, and it locks back in. Now it's waterproof again and you're good to go. That's how you change your lens, not the lens protector, but the actual lens. And that's it. Hope you get some use out of this.